right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special video sponsored by the great guys over at Magic Player. That's a local Magic club who organizes tournaments here in Denmark, and they love Duel Commander. So do I. So I always told myself if I was going to take on, sponsorship, paid content, stuff like that, it's going to be stuff that I absolutely love and would do regardless. And Duel Commander is certainly that. So quickly, let me tell you a little bit about these guys. These guys are very passionate about Magic and Duel Commander in particular. And they will be hosting the Danish National Championship, open to everybody, by the way, come August. And leading up to that, they have a bunch of warm-up tournaments. So this is exactly what you see over here in the in the left column, rather. You see the stores, you see the dates. If you're Danish or Swedish or German, you're gonna notice and understand these dates. These are your chances to win a free entry for this tournament. So mark your calendar here if you're in the area, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions about Duel Commander. Anybody who's been following me on Twitter, they will know I absolutely love this format, and I play it too much compared to what I should be playing, which is Legacy and Vintage and stuff like that. And I'm here to tell you why, and take you down memory lane for a short trip. So back in 2019, this guy, being me, won the national championship piloting a very sweet deck. Back then, you could play Thrashios and Timna the Weaver as your partners, and the rules were slightly different, but I'll get into that later. Back in 2017, 2018, I played a format called 1v1 Commander a lot on Magic Online, so I basically tried to transfer everything I learned from that format into Duel Commander. Duel Commander was slightly more balanced, a bit more extensive ban list, but I still tried to transfer as much as I could from that format. So let's quickly just go through the other previous winners here. So we had a sweet Naya deck. I think I was doing commentary for this year where a guy took down the tournament with Minsk Beloved Ranger. Then this looks like a black-red sacrifice deck taking it down the year after. And then Atraxa, kind of a classic control strategy in the format. And then some very awesome Jeskai aggro control blink value won last year. So that brings us to, let's see the deck list that I actually won with, because this is the good thing about keeping receipts, right? So this is the deck I won with. And back then, partners, first of all. Back then, you could play both your partners during the game. That was just a straight-up advantage. I had 9 cards, the opponent had 8. And I get to unlock 4 colors, and these were good in different spots. This is like you get paid off for just attacking with mana creatures, draw an extra card, outgrinding your opponent, and then Thrashios, if the board came to a stall, you could start activating this card, and it would kind of do the same thing. So not only did these cards provide massive card advantage, they also provided just a good mana curve. You always had something to do on turn 2, always had something to do on turn 3, which is too broken, which is now basically the reason that when you present 2 partners, you can only play one of them during any game of Duel Commander, so pretty reasonable. Other changes from back then is Mox Amber's banned. You can imagine, legends like Tamiyo, like Ragavan, like the legendary Yoshimaru Dog. Like, it's just unreasonable to have Mox in this format, so that card had to go. Then Wasteland had to go. Not necessarily because how good it was in decks like this, but mainly for green decks, which can recur it. And then Cavern of Souls is basically saying, this card is not in the spirit of the game. We want counterspells to be viable, and that card brings too much variance. And that's actually a key word that I want to talk a little bit about, variance. So, in my opinion, this is the constructed format with the absolute least amount of variance. Variance here meaning non-games, meaning, whoop, I just got crushed twice in a row, couldn't do anything. This is just the format where you get to play the most Magic. Just look at all this interaction. All the one-mana interaction in the world, all the 2-mana counters, all the removal spells. These games will go long, they'll be grindy, and that's what we want to see. If you play Duel Commander, it's because you want your game to last over a larger amount of turns and have many small micro decisions that can impact the outcome. That's my biggest sell in the format, actually, is that you really get to play the game, and there's no sideboard available, except you can swap your commander between games if it has a matching color identity, but that's the fact that you have no sideboard available. That kind of invites players to play a bit more combo decks where you know your opponent's not going to have, I don't know, Stony Silence for your artifact themed combo deck. But that also balances out the format, because then they will probably be weak to, you know, super blazing fast aggro, and then you have decks like this kind of in the middle where you're trying to account for the whole palette. So yeah, this was just a straight up value deck, what you would call a classic tempo deck. I want to play a mana creature turn 1 every time, including Utopia Sprawl or Wild Growth. And then I just want to get going with my commanders backed up by the cheapest interaction possible. A lot of stuff has happened since then. As I talked about, the ban list is very heavily managed. So every time there's a card like, let's give a recent example, like White Plume Adventurer, Initiative, Broken Snowball Mechanic, we ban that card. I talked about a little bit about Tameo, that's banned as a commander. Rafine banned as a commander. So every time there's these snowball decks that are dominating, or snowball cards, they will get banned to reduce the variance, and thus, in theory anyway, up the amount of fun, because the games will last more turns. So that's like the vision for the format, and I enjoy that quite a bit. So let's try and look at how this exact partner combination looks in 2025. So fast forward 6 years. Let's see here. So it looks like I'll just have to do a little bit of restructuring here, but I guess we'll be fine. So let's find the key card here. Nado Winged Wisdom, also banned as a commander, by the way, but you can play it in your deck. So I'll leave some links about that, because, you know, something is banned entirely, something is restricted to only being playable in the deck. That's just how the format works, which can be, you know, a bit difficult on first glance, but once you get the hang of it, it's going to be no problem. So this is a Nadu combo deck, and when you look across this deck, you'll notice that we're just a straight up combo deck. Very few cards here that don't help us either force through the combo, search up the combo, or as an actual combo. So let's try and see what kind of normal interaction do we actually play. We play like Parallax Wave, we play Fatal Push, we play Memory Lapse, and then I guess Abrupt Decay, and then we just have a ton of cards, and all of their purpose is to set up combos. So we have Devoted Druid combo with Brewmaster, Infinite Mana. We have Nomads and Core working with Nadu, draw a ton of cards. We have Neoform for consistency, bunch of tutors, Demonic Tutors legal, probably one of the best cards in the format, I would imagine. I did commentary for a Duel Commander Magic Online event some months ago, and I had to make a graphic, and I think I picked Demonic Tutor, White Plume Adventure, Balance. So funnily enough, White Plume Adventure and Balance are now banned. I picked Oko, and I picked maybe a card like Fury, something along those lines, to basically say this is the absolute ceiling of the format power level wise. But now this deck lost Reanimate, which is also kind of unfortunate. That card hit the ban list. I'm not going to go into too much like whether I agree with that or not. It's just to say that the ban list is very aggressively managed. So whenever there's a card like overperforming or doing punching above its weight, it'll be in the, you know, in danger of getting banned. So this deck will, of course, it's 4 colors, so we have a little bit of consistency issues when it comes to the mana. But, you know, we set up our mana as best as we can. We try and present a lethal combination between, you know, some of the creatures I already highlighted, and then we're trying to combo off. So this partner combination transformed from a, you know, fair strategy, the classic aggro control deck, into a straight up combo deck. So I'm actually pretty excited. I've never played this deck before, which is, you know, part of the charm around here. I don't care too much about, you know, winning, losing. It's more about learning and having fun along the way. So that is exactly the spirit that the guys over at Magic Player want to support as well. So thank you so much for sponsoring this video, and I can't wait to get into the games. All right, guys, let's play some Magic. Duel Commander is awesome. Let's see if I can pilot this combo deck. Yeah, this is just I'll excuse myself in the ahead of time. I think I'm going to make a ton of mistakes with this deck, or at least miss a ton of opportunities. But I actually feel like that is pretty cool from a challenge perspective. So the deck that I played back in 2019 has absolutely nothing to do with this. So it's mainly just cool to see the evolution of what's possible in the format, right? So I went from a super fair deck, policeman deck, to now I'm trying to do some unfair things. With that being said, Bowmasters and Baragwolf are just good, you know, standalone threats. So That's pretty sweet. I'm playing against a sweet deck. I think it's like Grixis Ninjas, which is yeah, it's a cool deck. I've played it, sub 8 at a few tournaments. I actually think I'm gonna play around Stifle here. I don't think this deck has blue-black Surveil land. Probably only the Archive as Surveil. Okay, and that one. I'm actually just going to fetch Underground Sea right away here. I really don't want to get stifled. That would just be atrocious. So sure, I'm giving up a little bit of equity here, but it's not anything to write home about. My opponent now sees my hand. I really hoped I was able to kill the Cobalt here from with Bowmasters. This 0-1 is kind of enabling a lot of ninja strategies. You play Skull Clamp, you play some cool synergy cards with that card, and then because of the partner mechanic, you get access to Grixis because you can combine it with Silas here. So pretty cool card, or just cool. The opponent's doing the same as me. They're trying to take advantage of the partner mechanic, so love to see that. Milling over Sanctuary makes a lot of sense. My opponent now knows about this hand. So I'm just going to put that here. Savannah, Yavi, Hack, Wave, Bow, Goif. So they know about those cards. Okay, Cedar Brass is not that bad. Let's see. Is this where I just play out my Brashios? Probably decent. Green, blue. Because that is a card that has to get killed eventually. So there's going to be a grind when it comes to, you know, removal creatures, etc. The opponent knows about Bowmasters, and it's like a Flame Tongue Kabu for the Rock Wrath. So I can play like this, and then maybe next turn I just jam the Baragoyf. Summoner's Pact can go and get Nadu at any given time. Okay, my opponent plays that card out, so that means they can counter the Bowmaster. Okay, Elf is not a bad draw. So let's get in for one, play an Elf, and then upkeep the Bowmaster. Elf is a good draw because it develops me, but I still get to cast my Bowmaster. Okay, mental misstep on that one. Totally fine as well. I'm going to upkeep it to hopefully stress my opponent's mana a little bit more. Cling to Dust. So what does this tell me? I think it tells me my opponent has a 1-mana counter, and I should respect my opponent's ability to play the game. So that's why I'm letting that resolve and Bowmastering on my opponent's upkeep to steal the mana. If I don't give my opponent any credit, I respond to the Cling to Dust, obviously, but pretty high level stuff. I'm happy I'm happy I didn't bite on my own turn. Stealing a mana could be the difference between getting Ninja or not, so. So now let's see. I don't have Yavimaya anymore. I don't have Bowmasters anymore. Opponent with the fetch here. The mana is also gone. By the way, I have Pack, Wave, Goif, and one unknown for the opponent. I have no idea what this is. Oh, this is a really cool card. I've never seen it before. So this also combos with that one. Wait, what happened? Put over or under non-human. That's this one. I don't know if something weird happened here. Feel like it should be under this one. And then it's going to be like a Ninja of the Deep Hours type thing. That's a cool one. I'll have to note that down. The menace on the Cobalt is very annoying. Trying to think about what to do with that Summoner's Pact. It will get a Nadu or Druid eventually, but I think for now I'm just playing my pound-for-pound cards like Baragorf, Parallax Wave, etc. If I play Baragorf, I have 2 blockers for the Cobalt. Because of Menace, right? You mutate onto the creature on top, plus all abilities from under it. Okay, so we still have Menace, etc. That's cool. So you have like a Menace, Ninja of the Devours. All right. Looks like my opponent is back here, and they're getting in there with 2/2 First Strike Menace. Drawing a card here. That's pretty gross. So if I play Parallax Wave, I can kind of stop that nonsense. If I play Baragorf, I think I'm going to do that. This could come back to bite me, for sure. Maybe I... No, I tap like this. Play that. Pass. And then hopefully this Mental Misstep can counter a removal spell and we can kind of stall the game. That would be ideal. Removal plus counter is bad. Double removal is bad. Even a 2-mana removal would be bad, so... I don't have super high confidence here. My opponent did well to have a lot of cheap stuff to outdo me here. Baleful Strix. That is acceptable. So now my opponent's holding up a 2-mana counter for the wave. I have to find kind of another plan here, I feel like. Maybe that other plan is just pass and then start activating Thrasios. Because at the moment, I'm actually doing well in the draw-go department. Hurts, terrible draw. So now I have to find a spot for Parallax Wave to do its thing, and then hopefully Barrow can take over the game. But my opponent has a ton of cards here. It seems really hard to get to do my unfair thing with this deck into, you know, Grixis, Jeskai, stuff like that. Let's see if that's actually true. Just in theory here. So I guess that's the non-damage one. Oh, it still has the... Okay, got it. It's not like Mana Confluence. It's still just whenever you... Even if you Rashad and port it, I take the damage. So fair enough. Activate Thrasios. Will like that land. Thank you very much. Still ready to fight over removal spell, but I don't think my opponent has a removal spell. Then they would have killed and kept attacking. Okay. Shuko is quite interesting because it's a lot of combo potential, but I think the way I should play this game is develop more mana. Because as long as we're sitting here and I get to activate my Thrasios in a stall, I'm winning the game. So let's see if we can keep this up. Right now, my read is my opponent has a ton of counter magic. Let's see. Sea Dasher Octopus. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that card. Seems very strong with turn 1 0 drop, turn 2 this card. That's kind of, when I played this Grixis deck, my thoughts were always, if only there was, oh, this sucks. If only there was more, you know, stuff that synergized with the commander, then I would really be loving life. Okay. Bounce, draw, very annoying. Now my opponent gets to connect, so even though Cryptic Command is not the best card in the format, it's very, very expensive. Here, it was awesome to break the stall for my opponent. And now my opponent has an Orcish Bowmaster. And it looks like I'm just losing to a counter, but I have to give it my best go. Let's see. This looks like a delve spell, which is not something I like, I must say. Even better. Detective's Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And then it looks like my opponent's just holding up 2 mana for a counter, and I'm getting crushed here. So I have to find something like land. No, wait a minute. I don't even need the land. I need like a counter, a discard spell, an Orm's Chant, stuff like that. So let's activate. Did I just lose? Oh, I didn't lose the mana. Okay, cool. So take the damage. Activate. Nope. Land. So there's some hope if I'm playing around soft counter. So let's see. Parallax Wave. 1, 2, 3, 4. I play Parallax Wave. I'm stalling, but I would still be playing towards the same spot. So I think what I have to do is try and resolve that Nadu. All right. Let's try and go for it. I'm losing to a lot of stuff, but I think that is acceptable. Let's go green. There, blue. Play Nadu. An actual counterspell memory lapse would be probably game over. I have some game against some soft counters. Okay, that card resolved. That's decent for me. So maybe I go Shuko. My opponent doesn't need much to just crush me here. That's the beauty of it. I don't really have any alternative. Passing and getting buried is not an alternative. All right. Let's activate. Let's activate once more. So, by the looks of things, it looks like my opponent has something like, I don't know, Mana League maybe? Ooh, Orm's Chant. That's going to be pretty good. That is a card I might have to play. Bright Arbor. So, funnily enough, that's a card I could have fetched. I guess I'm just off to the races here. And I can Spell Seeker. That's probably also quite nice. So, we keep activating here. Noble, that's a good one. Let's see. How do I actually finish this game off? Let's look at this list. Maybe all I can do is build the biggest board in history, cast Parallax Wave, and that's going to do it. Okay, so that's like my goal. Now the question becomes, do I chant my opponent? I currently have 4 mana to work with. If I play this out, I have 2 more hits. I would have to draw land in order to also play in order to also play Parallax Wave this turn, and I haven't even chanted my opponent yet. Yeah, Magic is a hard game, it turns out. So let's play the Noble. Shuko onto it. Skull Clamp is obviously an amazing card, but I think it's 2 mana intensive, and also my opponent has a Bowmaster, so there's that. Okay, there's Nomad. So now I can resolve the Nomad, but that's like redundant to the Shuko anyway, so what would be the point? Worms Chained with Kicker could be awesome in my opponent's turn. But what if I fetch Tundra, play Nomad, keep activating, delay my decision a tiny bit? This is hard because obviously I'm in an insane spot here, but I kind of have to optimize, and I have no idea how to do that. This is the first time that I'm presenting something I get mana leaked, which it doesn't. So there's Devoted Druid. Is Devoted Druid useful here aside from being a creature? Devoted Druid. It doesn't do anything, does it? Okay, I can draw a gazillion cards on my opponent's turn as well. Okay, so that's what makes the Druid playable. Ah, Magic the Gathering. What a game. What a game. And I'm getting spiked or whatever. Snared. Okay, so if I misstep here, then what? Then I have one flyer versus one flyer, so that actually works. So let's misstep here for life. Shuko onto the Druid. Okay. That's not bad. Land. Land is good. So now, Wild Growth. Probably a card I should cast. Wild Growth onto... Doesn't seem to matter too much here. We can put it under there. Oh, I have to pay green. Fair enough. Okay, so now on my opponent's upkeep, I can start going bananas with the intention of finding some instant speed stuff. So I guess we get going here. Okay, the opponent's seen enough here. So now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards / lands. My opponent realizes I'll be drawing into too much stuff here. I think my opponent still had a chance here, but it's obviously a lot of waiting as well. So I got pretty lucky. My opponent didn't have like an actual, counterspell, memory lapse type of deal. And then I was able to combo off. So pretty sweet debut here for the deck. So obviously no sideboard available when I'm playing partner. Excuse me. That was a pretty cool game one, where I both got to showcase the combo potential of the deck. I got to showcase the grindy element of this commander, which was better than the other commander in that game. This hand has a lot of potential, has all my colors. And yeah, I can just deploy some stuff here. That's pretty sweet. Turn 1 Ponder out of my opponent. Also worth noting is cantrips are actually better in that deck because you can then learn turn 1, dig for a ninja, right? And then you can play out your 0-1. You just have more looks at finding a synergy card for the commander, which is pretty cool. That card hits the battlefield. I draw Probe. Okay, I guess we just probe right away. See what's up. Now it's our turn to have perfect info. My opponent has a Fatal Push and a Murktide Regent, which is kind of redundant to the Oculus, so I do like that. I feel like I'm supposed to play the Safekeeper out here and kind of force the issue on the Fatal Push. I have a lot of combo potential here, but that deck is very good at picking apart and just killing, one of my key cards. It looks like my opponent is fine letting me survive with that card in play. I could go Druid here. I actually don't mind going Druid. Let's play Devoted Druid. If my opponent Fatal pushes it, I will... What will I do? I was about to say I'll accept, but maybe I shouldn't. Because that's like a land, right? Okay, let's try and keep it alive. And now I'm trying to think. Infinite mana with Druid from the Brewmaster, but that's a 4-drop, so... Then if I have infinite mana, what does Court of Calling do with infinite mana in this deck? Infinite green, Court for this, then what? Probably, I don't know. Too hard. Magic is too hard. So my opponent shows that card. So now I know about 4 cards in their hand. 1 unknown. I should have a stop on my opponent's main phase, I just realized. So now I can slow things down if I want to. I can go Tymna, attack with Safekeeper, and start grinding. That's probably quite strong. Then deploy Halfling afterwards. Let's try that. Black from that one. White. I don't know if this is the way to play it. This is how I like to play in other formats where I'm kind of giving my opponent stuff to worry about, and then when their guard is down, I combo them out, right? So let's see if that works in this format. Attacking with the Safekeeper, which is a 1/1. It'll draw me an extra card on the next main phase, rather. Opponent would rather chump block with their... Oh, nope. Yes, they would rather chump block with their 0/1, which is also a good exchange for me. And now I'm pretty interested in my opponent leaves this card in the graveyard, which they could in order to help delve. Okay, they do. That's cool. That is very cool. So no opponent was dealt damage here, and I can untap this one and deploy a Halfling. So either my opponent has a Toxic Deluge and got quite lucky, or my opponent's just building the graveyard for a 5/5 Murktide Regent next turn. Both very viable. And I'll get crushed by one, and I will beat the other. Come on, opponent. Opponent drew the one off Toxic Deluge last turn, which is brutal, to say the least. Okay, Fire Covenant is the same thing. So now I can sack a land to keep a creature around. Should I keep the Tymna around? I can keep 2 things around. Is that good? If I keep, let's see. It's not often that I'm considering sacrificing 2 lands here. Maybe the Halfling and the Tymna are better than these 2 lands. Let's see. This is pretty cool. So very low resource here. My opponent has those 2 and an island left. That resolves. And I can try and rebuild into the game here with my draw engine from Tymna. Fatal push. Bad draw if my opponent goes for Murktide. So now let's attack for 2, draw a card, and most likely develop a survival or nomad, depending on the situation. Survival actually seems quite bad right now, so let's see. Draw Aragoyf. Okay, not bad. Main problem is I can't cast it, but it is very strong against my opponent's backup plan here. Also, maybe this is time to put the survival into play. And then try and combo, because I already have the Nomad, I just need the Nadu to combo, right? So maybe Fatal Push was one of the worst cards in the deck because my opponent's just going to play a 7-drop. And then this Baragorf is just survival of the fittest fodder. And now it actually comes back and to bite me a little bit that the halfling does not tap for, you know, non-legendary colored mana. So here comes Murktide, which is a card that, you know, you can attack, but it's not that great to attack with it because then I can start attacking with Timna. So, and I buy back some life and draw cards, etc. So my biggest chance here is that this game comes to a stall and I'm able to combo my opponent out eventually. They don't play out the commander, so maybe they found a relevant card. I love the Thicket draw. I don't love that I don't have black mana. All right, time to look at the deck again. What do I want to survival for here? Is it just Nadu? Is it just Nadu and force my opponent to have something? Probably the case. So I go play Forest, play Nomad. Now my opponent knows that I have access to uncounterable Nadu because the halfling is on board. So if they have a counter, they spend it here, which is pretty good for me. But they just might have, you know, a removal spell and then nothing matters. I have to pass here. Also, I have to note that I actually have Court for 1 up right now. But with the Safekeeper gone, I'm not sure I can do anything crazy with it. Deathrite Shop. Noxious Revival. I didn't even realize that was in the deck. That's kind of cool. Here's Cling to Dust on my City of Brass. Yes, that works. Use Cycle. So that was what my opponent kept the mana up for, and not a counter. Very good for me. Opponent has the Oculus and 2 unknowns in hand. At this point, I'm not playing around. Both metaphorically and literally. I'm not going to play around. I'm going to actually try and present the Nado and see what happens. So this spot would be pretty cool if I had the Safekeeper in the deck, because then I actually had instant speed access to, you know, protection. Let's see. Wow, did my opponent just find Toxic Deluge? No, they didn't. They're Hardcasting Ninja. So Oculus and 1 unknown left in hand. Fine. Fine, fine. Okay, good play by my opponent here. So let's see if we can do anything smart. It looks like I should be Court calling for a mana dork in response. So let's see. 1, 2. Wait, I can't because I don't have green. I don't have triple green. Oh crap. Okay. So that works. Let's activate survival. So now, do I go for the Nadu? I probably should. And then I hope to draw land. Is that how it works? Yes, I think so. Okay. So let's see. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. There it is. Halfling down. Very annoying. Yeah, I can't believe I missed the triple green thing on Calling. I was so sure I had it. And there's a brick. So now I don't have any place unless I want to go survival for something. I don't have Solitude in my deck. Solitude on the Murktide would be serviceable. Interestingly enough, my opponent takes that damage, allows me to draw the land here, which I do. I don't like that play for my opponent. I feel like they should have blocked there. So here we go. thanked him, sure. And now I feel like this is about finding an answer for Murktide, and I'll be fine. Let's see. Yuko doesn't do anything. And my opponent's seen enough here. I also have the Parallax Wave. So I feel like if my opponent blocks that Tymna, we actually have a game where my opponent can draw out of this. But yeah, the combo potential was just too much in the end for my opponent. I'm not sure how I played this game. I tried to stress my opponent on the fair axis, and then when that didn't work, I kind of pivoted into combo. But I guess beating a Fire Covenant here was pretty impressive from the deck's performance perspective anyway. All right, I'm going to try and get one more good match in before we wrap up the video, so don't go anywhere. All right, round 2 here is also against Grixis Ninjas, which is pretty cool. I don't mind. I think that's pretty cool to see how this deck lines up against a pile of interaction. So I hope you guys are enjoying the grindy games as well. That's kind of what Duel Commander has to offer. My hand is reasonable here. Drawing the misstep there could be quite crucial. I think in order to not stress my mana too much, I'm not going to make a decision on my fetch just yet. I'm going to play turn 1 Noble here. I will fight with misstep over removal, if that is the case. And then I'm hoping my opponent, if my opponent has a ninjutsu card, I'm hoping it dies to Abrupt Decay, because that is my only interaction right now. I would actually speculate that this is tough pairing, because it's quite easy for the opponent to get a ninja going. Wow, milling over Skull Clamp. What does that tell me? That the opponent's Landlight, maybe? But that would just be incredible. Oh, yeah, this is incredible as well. Yeah, I feel like my opponent, if you're milling over Skull Clamp and you have a 0-1 in play, that's just... yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Thoughtseize is pretty cool. So is Voice of Resurgence, though. If I get Voice going, then maybe next turn I can Decay and Thoughtseize. Let's see. What do I have to do to make that happen? Because I need white here, and it can only be Savannah or Tundra, so I can't double spell next turn. I feel like just Abrupt Decaying this is just so weak, so I should probably fetch Tundra and play Voice. Because with that card in play, counter magic becomes bad on the side of my opponent. And I do certainly, I have an interest in that being the case. Also, it stops the chip damage from the orc and the army, which is relevant. I have Misstep to protect against spot removal. But let's see if they have a ninja. Okay, my opponent has a ninja here. That was my main motivation for casting Thoughtseize, but I don't know. It was a bit too slim, I felt like. So now comes to crossing my fingers that this dies to Abrupt Decay. It doesn't. Ninja, the Debauer is connecting, and my read is my opponent does not have the land, because that was the only reason I could see milling over the clamp. So let's see if I'm right about that. I'm not right about that, or they just found it. All right. The Seiju is really not that good right now. I can't double spell. Is this where I just play a 1/3 and a tap land? I really don't like my spot here. That card is terrible. Let's pass. So now at least I have the ninja under control. I'm not losing to what's on board. I'm stabilizing, and I have a voice in place. My opponent's, counters are bad draws. The problem is, how do I turn the corner? And Thrasios is probably that answer. If my opponent has another ninja, this could be annoying. Looks like they do have another ninja. I think this is where I just let my opponent draw a card, maybe. Not ideal. And then again, if my opponent had a removal, they would have cast it right away so that the menace creature would get through. This could be a very good bluff. Fable. Fable is annoying when we're just sitting here. Oh wow. Nadu. That is an insane draw, most likely. Maybe this turn is just Thoughtseize Nadu. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent and play a Nadu. Okay, Mana League and a ton of lands. Perfect. I feel I should have played the Woodlands. That was bad. Okay, so I should have played Woodlands and had Beseiju left in hand, because in theory I want to disenchant later, and this does not have any bonus in my hand. Ah, that was bad. I'm sad about that. Because I have the forest and the overgrown tomb here, so. Also, very nice play. We have to talk about that. Very nice play by my opponent last turn. They sacrificed their commander to bluff a ninja, another ninja, and then got an additional card here that they desperately needed with all the lands in hand. So, kudos to my opponent. Ooh, that's very good for me, at least, that they see a spell they like and have to bin it. But the problem is, my opponent's now going to trade 2 lands into 2 freshies. Those freshies could easily be, you know, relevant stuff. So worth noting is this land is, if Nadu dies, nope, I'm telling a lie. I need an instant in the yard, but, you know, I'll get that eventually. But this land is like, if some of my combo pieces are dead to black removal, red removal, stuff like that, then this card is your redundancy, because it can become the copy. Civilin. I think when it attacks, draws a card. Sure. So I'm kind of stabilized here, and I have a ton of potential in my deck that will just go nuts with this Nadu. So let us see. I like this fetch land, because surveilling is powerful now that I'm looking for key cards. So I guess, let's see. Am I killing this Civilin? Maybe. Or I'm killing that Reflection. Maybe I'm just supposed to double block with Nadu and voice onto the Civilin, and that is that. My opponent draws Expressive Iteration. Awesome card in this standstill situation. So now it's basically a race between me connecting the dots with Nadu and something like Nomad, Shuko, any tutor for it, and my opponent getting me dead, which is very similar to the match we had before, where, you know, I'm up against the Murktide Regent. Emperor of Bones is potentially annoying, keeping down Delirium. Is that a card I want to kill? Oh, let's think here. Rep Decay. The Emperor is going to attack me sooner or later, so maybe I just kill it? I feel so bad when I can look with Thrasios and try and combo my opponent. Okay, I'm going to let my opponent have this attack step, which comes with a Emperor of Bones activation and... Okay. Okay, fair enough. So, when it gets a treasure, I can stand off, kill this, take 2, activate Thrasios, end of turn.
I think this is my window to get there. I don't like this fetch. Here's Nethergoyf, a 6/7 that I should probably mental misstep. Fetch. Let's see. Green, green, white, white, ton of blue. So maybe this is the one I want. I could be under too much pressure this game. Let's see. Mental misstep. Pass. Activate. Find a brick. What happened there? Oh, it's drawing. I thought it put into hand. Okay. I was so sure it was drawing. It wasn't that. I was so sure this one got around. That one got around Bowmaster. I was wrong there. Sorry about that. Okay, I draw the Brewmaster. That can copy activated abilities. It's not really ideal right now, I must say. So play that. Play, I guess, Brewmaster. Exile the Nethergoyf. So this is also growing my elemental token, which is decent. And then I can, I guess, play drum. Which doesn't do anything on the surface, but it's sneakily an abrupt decay. So now let's think. Should I now kill the reflection? I think I'll wait. No, maybe I just have to kill the reflection, because reflection copying Bowmasters will crush me, and you know, eventually. Okay, this is very annoying that I have to do this. So black, tap, green, abrupt decay the reflection. Yeah, it's really not ideal. Okay, so I think if I thought a bit more about this, I would not have played the drum, so that I wouldn't have to tap a creature. I actually thought I was tapping this man on my opponent's turn, which would then make it inconsequential that I'm tapping a creature, because, you know, I could assign blocks, etc., etc. But since that was not the case, I would highly have preferred to have a 1/3 available now for combat. Now I'm losing to a bunch of things. Getting tempoed out here. My opponent did a good job. Thanks to Fable, basically, my opponent managed to get out of the blood here. So that's just one for the board for Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That card is very strong at, you know, just being a good magic card all over. So now my opponent's going to make, probably draw a card with that one. That's pretty cool. So now get a civil into play, and now I'm curious about the math here. If my opponent sends the squad, let's see. Maybe the Org army should join them, yes. So now 3 creatures will connect. That'll put me to 1 life. Very bad for me. What if my opponent attacked with Bowmaster? I think I was just dead then, because then I can only block 3. Yeah, I would be dead then. So let's see. I think I have to block there. These guys can stare down, and then I take 6. Ooh, my opponent wins the game here with their mastermind activation. That's pretty cool. I didn't think about that. I'll let them figure it out. Okay, my opponent let me live here, which is not ideal when you can just kill your opponent. I can't do anything about that, though. I have 3 life in the bank. Does that do anything? I have Delirium. I don't think that does anything, because I need to get rid of this or I'm just dying. But what if I gain 3 here, and I'm going to try at the very least. So let's see. I'm going to gain 3, and then I'm going to try and Thrashios into Nomad. Why my opponent lets me play? That's so funny. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. What is important? 3, 4, like this maybe? I need exactly like Nomad or Shuko here. And I don't get it. Okay. So my opponent could have killed me in a few ways here. Decided not to. I gave it a shot. I didn't hit it. That's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, Bowmaster on the Noble early was devastating that game. Bowmaster is probably one of the best cards in the format as well, but it's very... like, it's super fair. It's not anything crazy. All right, next game here. I like the Voice of Victory. So I can actually go turn 1 Zenith for Arbor. Turn 1 maybe Voice of Victory. Maybe Timna, maybe Thrashios. I have some options here. This hand is a bit land heavy. So that would be a reason to go save the Zenith for later. But I actually think it's fine when I have Finale here. Let's see. So I can go Bayou. Is that good? Probably fine. Bayou, Zenith for Dryad Arbor. That will eat a removal spell a lot of the time, which I secretly don't care about. Because I have a 2-drop into a 3-drop if I want to. When the Mana Dork decks are on the play, that's really big in Duel Commander. Because those, first of all, Mana Dorks are the only way to get a mana advantage in the format. And second of all, they will eat a removal spell a lot of the time, and then you can follow up with a 2-drop. So some decks are obviously better set up than others to do that. Okay, my opponent's playing Phase Up here with a tapped Water Grave. And now I'm quite interested what I should do. I feel like Voice of Victory is the card. Because with that card in play, you know, my opponent can't do anything next turn. They kind of have to kill it. This is a forced play in a way. Oh no, I attack. Ah, what a bad attack. Ah, don't do that. If you play Duel Commander in any of these tournaments I talked about in the beginning of the video, don't attack there. That was terrible. Because the opponent's creature has Menace. So now my opponent gets to Ninja for free. Because I played poorly. If I stay back with 2 creatures, they don't. Yeah, that was atrocious, unfortunately. So now I can Timna draw a card. My opponent will also draw a card. Yeah, this is very bad. But I feel like I have to do this. Let's see. Play Underground Sea. Play Timna. Magic's a very, very hard game. But this has been embarrassing. I'm going to attack with this one because it's the most damage and it's my opponent's premier target for removal. but it's also a card that just bounces off that one. Maybe I'm doing like this. Okay. Yeah, that was so bad. Gave my opponent a free card. Lands are not good, but these tutors could be good later. I'm trying to think what to do with these tutors. Olive Devastation. That's also redundancy in case I go Nadu, it gets killed, la la la. Malcolm on their own turn. Okay, so did I successfully stall the game after playing poorly? Oh, lucky. So let's see. What if I go Noble, attack with Timna? Maybe that's playable. I could also just put a Nadu into play and pass the turn. Is that good? Put a Nadu into play, pass the turn. I think that's quite strong. So maybe go like that. Fetch, drop. 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. Let's see if an Olive Devastation math. 1, 2, Nomad. Not enough green. Fair enough. So I go. Oh, I thought this was quarter calling. Oh my god. I'm doing so much stupid stuff. Wait a minute. Could I have killed my opponent? No, I couldn't. You know, this is not the quarter calling. This is Summoner's Pact. Jeez. So bad. Okay. I feel like I should attack with this Timna now. And then Nadu afterwards. So attacking with that one, I'm fine to trade with my opponent's ninja. Okay. My opponent's fine to trade their 0-1. I gain some life here. Let's... Oh, wow. That was too bad. So now let's see. The thing is, I can annul Devastation for it. But if I do that, then the Summoner's Pact does not find me a combo card for Nadu, because this is any creature, and this is just green creature, so... Yeah, that's atrocious. Atrocious. Let's go for Nadu here. Also fetched for no reason, which could have been a Surveil. So now my opponent has to clear my board, or at least kill the Nadu, and even if they do, then I can pay for 1 turn for the pact and then bring it back. Yeah, that was incredibly bad. So I guess this is a good showcase of how like complicated and how much the format rewards doing your homework and not just plug and play a random list. So I guess it's good for the format and less good for my self-esteem, but I hope you guys are entertained anyway. Yeah, let's go to game 3 here. I don't think I was supposed to win a game where I make so many blunders. That is if anything is unfair in Magic, that would be it. So this is funnily enough a hand that like it has 6 lands, but Springheart and Saga are cards that actually make this somewhat viable. Ooh, turn 1 Skullclaim, that's cool. That is going to be very tough to beat. Another land, probably not what I wanted. So the Nantuko is awesome with fetches, but let's see if I have the luxury to wait. Let's see if our opponent has a ninja. Like, whenever you have the opening of uncontested ninja, you're doing very well. And now my opponent gets to really punish my questionable keep. I do like it because this kind of rewards you for having lands. Ursa Saga is awesome, la la la. But now it looks super silly. Draw step, land number 100, and then get thought seized, right? That was not ideal. Ogrish Bowmaster is ideal though. That's pretty nice. I wonder if I should try and catch my opponent. I probably should. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go land pass. And now I'm hoping my opponent goes 2-mana commander, try and equip it. That would be an awesome tempo play for me. Yes. Are you going to equip it? You are. Okay. So I'm going to bowmaster it here. Let's see if my opponent has one of the free counters. Free counters, something that I actually should have talked about a little bit earlier. They also define the format like force bag effects, free counters as well. Because that's like a way to break, you know, parity. Stoneforge Mystic. Do I have anything else than Shuko and Skullclamp in the deck? I doubt it. Let's see. I can't even find those cards. Okay, Shuko, Skullclamp over here. So the thing is, that's just kind of redundancy for the saga, which is a bit weird. So I have to unload these lands soon because they will be very bad once they become ETB tapped lands. The constructs are just not very impressive, but it's also giving up kind of free value, so I don't think I can pass that up. Let's go Blooming Marsh pass. I feel like I'm just losing this game. My opponent has Skullclamp twice and interacted with me twice as well, while I've been doing nothing. I think that's just too much to overcome. Skullclamp on that card is just the dream. It looks like my opponent is somewhat weak to the combo this game. Tapping out a lot for value rather than holding up interaction. Maybe I can use that to my advantage. Also note my opponent did not equip, so they have a 1-mana interaction spell. Safekeeper is cool. Maybe this is where I go... Maybe this is where I go Skullclamp. Yeah, let's go Skullclamp. I'll play the Safekeeper out. Force Spike, probably. Maybe. Okay, it was Fatal Push. Fair enough. Makes a lot of sense. Here comes the Safekeeper. Safekeeper is a card that I will desperately try and equip with Skullclamp next turn, I feel like, to try and get back into this game, but I actually think it's too late. Let's see. The opponent drew 4 cards using their 0-mana commander. Force of Will, Thought Seized, and pushed me, and I had like a bad land spell ratio to begin with. I think this is too much. Ooh, the opponent is really showcasing the power of interacting early and then cast draw spells to not run out of gas late. Which is like the bread and butter way to play this format. Flame Slash. Castable on the second main phase. I feel like I have to kill this construct though. Kill this Goblin Shaman rather. But now my plan is to sacrifice a land to keep the Safekeeper in play if I have to. And then hopefully clamp my way back into the game. That's kind of my only option here, I feel like. So funnily enough, this lets me play Thicket as an untap land. Keeping that alive is fine. Mother Rune's a decent draw. Feel like I should just do this right away. And it's Judgment Day. They have the fairy, which is very annoying. The opponent draws one card here. I draw two. Now I can play Mother and draw cards. Probably going to be my play. Mother Runes. Draw cards. Is that really... I guess if I wasn't going to Lambit, I should have played Giver. All right, let's just try and draw a bunch of cards and try and match our opponent in that regard. Problem is, opponent has some inevitability here, flipping the Fable. You know, then they can start making copies. That's free. Creatures off Skull Clamp. Or 4 Skull Clamp. Yeah. I don't think this is my game to win. Now it certainly isn't. Clamp that one, sure. Now that's getting copied next turn. Voice is fine. Problem is, I'm so much behind. I guess Voice is a couple of bodies. But what if I go Thoughtseize, Voice, Giver? There's some chance in this game where I connect with my combo before dying. Is this where I just equip? Could see that actually. Okay, so now I'm saying if I have to chum block, at least I'm getting 2 cards, and those 2 cards could potentially be like Nadu Nomad, or, you know, some combination of tutors. Reflection plus Baragoyf. That's probably too powerful. Now my opponent's attacking for a ton of damage. I'm going to block here. I'm going to draw my 2 cards. Here's a token. I'm going to draw an extra card from Fairy because I just drew 2 cards on their turn. Milling over. Ooh, Quarry Steel Cutter. That's a good one for this deck, because then you can go turn 2 Cutter and then be this card right away. That's clever. Equipping over here because it sacrifices end of turn, it doesn't get exiled. Just super solid play by my opponent. Here's a 6/7. And that's gonna, well, yeah, let's give it a whirl here. So, Lamp. My opponent did not cast anything. What does that mean? They hold up 5 mana? Unclear why they would need 5 mana. I guess we find out before we concede. Wash away Snapcaster. All right, good games, opponent. You got me. And that brings us to the conclusion of this video. Thanks again to Magic Player, an awesome Magic club here in Denmark, supporting me on the channel. And I got to promote their awesome tournaments. I got to showcase off some nice gameplay here of Duel Commander, super grindy. I got to toot my own horn a little bit about winning the event back in 2019 and what has happened with the format ever since. And then just give you guys a little bit of an appetizer to what is Duel Commander and why you should book those dates in your calendar if you're in the area. So with that being said, I will have a few more of these coming up with various topics, hopefully a cool, well-known guest as well. And you guys should look forward to that. So check out the links in the pinned post. And I hope to see you back on the channel soon. Thanks so much for watching.